Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Create Brevity. This is your host, Director, and today we're going to be talking about manifestation oscillation. And before we get started on that topic, just want to let you guys know that we do have an amazing blog and we do offer one-on-one coaching on our website, www.createbrevity.com. So, manifestation oscillation. What is this? I had actually re-record. This is a re-record. I had another version of this podcast that I was going to post, but I didn't think it was clear enough. Because this is something I think it's a topic that's best explained kind of with an example from start to beginning. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do today. And like I said, it can be kind of confusing for people to understand it. But basically, manifestation oscillation is kind of what happens when you start to notice your 3D and you start to kind of see the difference between where you want to be and where you feel like you are. Okay? So, like I said, it's best explained with one topic from start to beginning. So, I'm going to go ahead and give you an example in that way. So, let's start with let's say you're trying to manifest a promotion, okay? So you want to be bumped up to senior vice president of sales, okay? You start doing your affirmations, I'm amazing, a great salesperson, I deserve all the best things, I'm limitless, right? You start doing all your affirmations. Maybe you're scripting, you have all these amazing thoughts and scenarios about what's going to happen after you become senior vice president of sales, and that's all you're thinking about, right? And it feels really good, and you've kind of pumped yourself up. And this will usually last a couple of days, right? Then all of a sudden, you might be at your desk, maybe you're in the elevator at work, and someone will say something. And it won't be anything big, but it's going to trigger you. They might start talking about some of the other people that are up for the job, maybe. They might start asking you questions about sales, and maybe you don't have the answers to them right away, and that scares you. Okay? But something is going to happen and it's going to trigger that sort of reptile brain, right, that you have. And then you're going to start thinking, oh my God, what if I don't get this promotion, right? What if I can't handle it? Oh my God, they said that Mark in accounting and Joanne in the financial division, they're saying that they're up for vice president of sales. I mean, am I good enough for this job? Like, are they better than me? And you start having all of these thoughts, and then all of a sudden, that amazing feeling that you've been leaning on, that's been kind of carrying you through the past couple of days, been kind of sailing forth with, is gone, and it's just replaced with anxiety and doubt. Now, that is what being triggered feels like, in case you guys didn't know. That right there is the sensation of being triggered by something, being triggered by your current 3D reality. It's because what you'll notice in that moment is that nothing really changed, right? It's not like Joanne or Mark actually got those jobs. And it's not like you didn't get the promotion, but something, it kind of like pricked you, right? And now all you can focus on is the possibility of getting pricked some more, getting hurt again, right? Getting your hopes dashed and your dreams broken, okay? And you can't focus on the larger picture, which is that at this point in time, okay, no one has gotten the senior vice president promotion, and you're still very much in it. It's still available for you to have, right? So, what happens usually to people when they get this manifestation oscillation is one of two things. They will either try to beat it back, okay, with more affirmations, with more scripting, because that had worked for the past couple of days, okay, and they'll kind of bounce back a little bit, okay, but then something else will happen. They'll get triggered and then they'll fall back down, okay, or it just becomes too exhausting for them to think about. The anxiety is too much, the negative thoughts are too much, and they're just kind of like, you know what, maybe I wasn't meant for this promotion, okay, maybe it's not going to happen. I'm not going to get my hopes up about it. Just forget about it. And they kind of just give up on the process altogether. Okay. So we don't want you to give up on the process because at the end of the day, this promotion is something that you want, right? You want to be senior vice president of sales. So instead, okay, of giving up, or instead of just doing scripting and affirmations and kind of trying to get you to that level and going through this cycle over and over again, I want you to sit with these negative feelings for a minute, okay? It's kind of like what we talked about in the past podcast with feeling is the secret. I want you to ask yourself, what is really behind this? Because the thing is, your brain, that sort of lizard brain part of you, right, that ego part of you, it's trying to keep you safe, right? It wants you to not get your hopes up and then be crushed, just in case you don't get the job, right? Supposedly, or just in case you can't handle it and you end up embarrassing yourself or something like that. So I want you to sit with this feeling and I want you to understand that that's what's happening right now. That this is not really real, okay? This is your brain kind of going through all the motions to try to get you in a place where you are in your comfort zone, right? They they talk about people being dialed in on a basic kind of understanding or consciousness, right? It's kind of like your base level, and your brain and your body are going to work to keep you there because that's what feels normal. Okay, being on cloud nine, thinking you can get everything that you want in this world is unnormal to some people. They don't have the wiring for that. They have more of a protective personality. They have more of a protective instinct, which is going to try to keep them from being hurt. Okay, and sometimes, growth feels painful, right? So it doesn't even want you to grow. So I want you to sit with that. Okay, don't get swept into it. Don't give in to it. And what I mean by that is if you need to release it and you're trying to cry. I know some people, they have moments of strong emotion. They want to cry, they want to go for a walk to try to release it. That's fine. Those kinds of things are fine. What I mean about don't give into it is don't feed more into the anxiety in that moment. Just examine it for what it is. Okay. And when you do that, kind of like what we talked about in the past podcast, it can be released very naturally. Okay. It can be released very naturally. The other thing that you can do in that moment, if you're ready, and I understand some people are not ready to go there, but you can kind of try to understand, like I said, that this is your brain protecting you, and you can go a little bit further and you can kind of go into the reason why it's protecting you and try to release it from that kind of root point. I've talked about it before, but I myself, have certain protective instincts that are rooted in my childhood. And I had to go back, because things kept coming up like this. I'd be doing great and I'd be feeling amazing. Manifestations would actually be coming in, okay? And yet there would be this like little feeling, okay? And that was my body basically telling me, you have unreleased emotions. You have some negative beliefs, okay, that you need to work on. But this is a process, and not everyone can do it in the first time or the second or even the third. It takes time, okay? But just allow yourself to understand that that's what's happening. A lot of times, people, our brains want to give meaning to everything that's happening to us. So, a lot of times when things happen, we just want an answer. We just want that feeling gone, okay? And one of the ways we can give ourselves an answer is by going into the negative, into the worst case. And we can tell ourselves, no, 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 I'm just not meant to be senior vice president of sales. I'm not meant for promotions. And that does get rid of the feeling, albeit in a negative way. But instead, try to get rid of the feeling in a proactive way, in a growth, they call it growth mindset. You can think of it that way. Think of yourself as becoming used to this feeling, okay, so that you can get rid of it and get rid of the root. Think of yourself as, you know what, I'm just protecting myself. So that's why I'm trying to get rid of this feeling. I'm going to sit with it and I'm going to let it go naturally. Okay? So those are two ways to deal with it. Okay? You can also deal with it by understanding that right now you are focusing on the worst case scenario. Regardless of why you're doing it, okay? You can change your focus like I said, to something else. And one of the things that you can do, it can be hard for people to believe that they're limitless right away, right? That's the reason why you're having this bounce back, right? That's the reason why your brain is trying to get you back to the base level. So I want you to focus on something that's a little bit easier and it's something that you have. So go, you know what? At the end of the day, no one has this promotion, and I don't want to focus on the negative. I'm going to focus on what I have and what I'm grateful for in this moment. So look around you, look at your hands. You know, I always like to look at my hands, and I always like to remind myself that, wow, I'm scared in this moment. I have nervousness in this moment. I have anxiety, but I'm still doing it. You know, look at my hands working away on this computer, right? Look at my hands, holding this microphone. When I first started the podcast, I was very nervous about whether I could handle it. It was a commitment, you know, am I good enough? How's my recording voice? I had a lot of that. And even though I had everything set up and I would record episodes, it took me months before I posted any. And I knew my friends and family would be listening, and I wasn't sure if I wanted them to hear this, all kinds of fears and doubts. And I remember looking at my hands and going, you know what? I'm really scared, but my body's still doing it for me. Look, I'm so grateful in this moment that my body is still working towards something that I care about. That's a big dream of mine, right? And I'm really, really grateful for that. In that moment, it released a lot of resistance because even though it might have been difficult for me and for you, right? If we're just going back to this example of senior vice president, even though it might be hard for you to believe in senior vice president right now, you solidly sitting in your chair at your office, okay, and thinking about where you are, that is something that's very real because that's currently in your 3D. So just being grateful for that, knowing how much you've changed just to get here, okay, it can release a lot of resistance because it's just a reminder to your brain that you can handle things that are difficult, that you can grow, okay, and that you've already changed, you've already shifted, okay? So those are 3 ways to kind of jolt yourself out of that oscillation, okay? But just understand that manifestation oscillation is something that literally happens to everyone, okay, at some point in their manifesting process. And it's because most of the time, what we want is something that's very important to us. Okay, so we've put it kind of on a pedestal. These manifestations mean something about who we are as human beings. And therefore, when it feels like we're not going to get them, it triggers something about who we are. So it triggers our self concept, right? It makes us feel like we're not worthy of something, right? But what I want you to understand is that at the end of the day, you can choose what your thoughts are. And once you start learning how to release your emotions and to work with them, you can choose your emotions. Okay? And that this is going to take practice. Okay? But that you're worth the practice, right? You're worth, okay, taking some mindful minutes out of the day and working on yourself. You're worth it. Okay? Because you create your reality, right? We choose what we want to experience, right? We are not limited. The 3D, like I said, is changing. It's a shadow, right? Some people call it a shadow. Neville Goddard, called it that. Um, it your 3D, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're experiencing is already a choice. And I think a lot of times people forget that. But even just the words that I'm saying to you, right? You're only hearing them if you're ready to hear them because you're seeking this podcast out or someone's recommending it to you, okay? And then as you're listening to it, if it's not something that you want to hear, you'll turn it off, okay? Maybe you'll come back to it, maybe you never will, okay? But you're choosing not to have this experience, right? So that's already something that you're doing. So be kind to yourself in these moments, relax, and understand that what's happening right now is literally the shadow of you, right? A version of you in your own head is standing in the way of you dreaming about, okay, which, by the way, is a form of visualization, thinking about a form of prayer, right? The things that you actually want in this world, right? It's just blocking you. Now, it's doing that to keep you safe, it's doing that to protect you, okay? So don't beat yourself up about it, but understand that that's what's happening. And if you say to that version of yourself, I got this, I can handle it, okay? I can do this, okay? You can sit down now. I don't need you to do this for me right now, okay? I appreciate you. I thank you. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to focus on the things that make me happy. I'm going to focus on the things that I really want, not on the worst case scenarios. Okay, I don't need to do that anymore. Okay, I'm going to think thoughts and I'm going to have feelings and emotions that are worthy of who I am, which is a creator. Okay, right? Which is someone that was endowed with the ability to think for myself. Okay, and which is someone who is not a victim of my circumstances. Okay. Because remember, guys, all of this is trying to do is it's trying to keep you a little bit in that victim mentality. And you can't really be a victim, okay, and be a creator at the same time. And that's why, like I said, feeling grateful for where you are, okay, and the things that you do have, okay, and being even grateful, like I said, for the fact that your brain is trying to keep you safe, okay, it can release a lot of this resistance and it can get you back on track. But like I said, this is just that 1, 2, 3 punch that happens, okay, to everyone. Manifestation oscillation is very real, okay, and it's just a gut check moment. You can think of it kind of as a final exam, okay, if that makes it better, right? Oh, you want this promotion, right? You want to be senior vice president, you got to get through this, okay, and that's it, right? Uh, I have a couple people in my life that are actually they're working their way through medical school at this moment, but I remember, you know, they were talking about the process of becoming a doctor, right? And so much of it is not related to the actual excuse me, the actual job of working as a doctor, right? All of the, chemistry and biology. Yes, some of it is important, of course, for the actual profession, but some of it is just kind of a barrier of entry, right? They want to instill a certain amount of discipline. They want to make sure that you are mentally qualified for this, right? And I think that sometimes we make it a little bit hard on ourselves and our brain, and we want to protect ourselves a little bit more because that's how we're wired, but because the actual work sometimes I think gives people comfort. It makes them feel like they deserve and they earned their manifestation. But what I want you to understand is that you don't have to do that to yourself anymore. You can free yourself from that process. It's your choice, okay? Because you already have your manifestation. You already earned it. You already deserve it, okay? Just by having the thoughts, by kind of reaching your hand out, you're already there. Okay. So when manifestation oscillation happens, okay, don't give up on yourself. Push through it with some of the techniques that we talked about before, okay, by embodying the feeling, right, by being grateful, okay, and by reminding yourself, like I said, that it's just your brain protecting you, right? It's just old beliefs creeping up. And you don't have to do that if you don't want to. So, thanks, guys. Thank you for listening. I hope you're having an amazing week. Okay. As always, love and light.